Good evening and welcome to Chicago Tonight Black Voices. I'm Brandis Friedman, and thanks for sharing part of your weekend with us. On the show tonight,
these are hardworking residents who, for the most part, own their homes.
Cook County property owners face spiraling debt as private investors buy up their unpaid taxes. Residents say construction on the Obama Presidential Center is causing congestion and confusion in Woodlawn. The Cook County Promise Guaranteed Income Program has entered its next phase. We talk with participants about their hopes for the program. And there is nothing quite like Black Twitter. As chaos has overtaken the social media site, we talk about what makes it so thought-provoking, influential, and so very, very funny. Plus, a Chicago musician and visual artist are working together with a local nonprofit to inspire the next generation of artists. All that coming up, but our first story tonight, diving into the brilliance of Black Twitter. That's right after this.
Chicago Tonight, Black Voices, is made possible in part by Fifth Third Bank and by the support of these donors.
At Fifth Third, we believe when diverse voices are heard and empowered, communities are made stronger, lives are made better, and the future holds greater promise for all. That's why we're proud to support Chicago Tonight Black Voices. Together, we can make a difference. Together, we can drive change.
Even when many Twitterites feared the social media site would implode late this week, Black Twitter was still Black Twittering. Thursday night, this tweet read, Black Twitter showing up to the Twitter feud. Obviously, it's got pics of Meghan Markle, Jennifer Hudson, Beyonce, and more serving crowns. Some people like to call them hats. Also, this one answering the question of how to get Black Twitter. If you know, you know. And there was also this one from late last week before the implosion. Maybe this author saw it coming. This one's from author and writer Shanita Hubbard. It reads, one day we will get a documentary on the rise and fall of Twitter. The doc will include how Black Twitter was more than a space on the internet where we exchanged culturally specific inside jokes in front of the world, but Black Twitter also impacted what mainstream media covered, which is what we're talking about right now. Obviously, you can read the rest of that thread, obviously, on Twitter. Joining us now, though, are Ariane Nettles, lecturer and director of audio journalism programming at Northwestern University, Xavier Pope, lawyer, ESPN Las Vegas contributor, and host of Suit Up News, and Jacoby Cochran, host of the daily news podcast, CityCast Chicago. Family, welcome to Black Voices. Thank you for joining us. First, I want to get your reaction to this near implosion that Twitter had on Thursday night. Ariane, first to you. What'd you think?
Well, you know, it's always really scary when something you love is kind of on the brink of the end. But in Black Twitter fashion, you can't get too upset because it just means that the jokes are going to come even harder, right? Like, that is literally what Black Twitter is for, is that there is no such thing as a tragedy that cannot be turned and flipped into comedy. And I think that's really reflective of just kind of what we do culturally, is that we get through stuff with a joke. And Thursday night, we had a lot of jokes.
All the jokes. Xavier, over to you. What'd you think?
I was perfectly stated by Ariana. We turn tragedy into jokes because that's how we've been able to get through the struggle. And I think that's the nature of Black Twitter. It's been able to have the barbecue, so to speak, out loud. Because guess what? We're on social media. People still can't get the jokes but us. So it's been really great to share that with the world and then impact culture with it. So to see that go away potentially, but us turn into something funny, that's how we do it.
Kobe?
I mean, I have looked at Twitter for collective mourning when we have had to watch our brothers and sisters gunned down in the middle of the street. And I have also watched Twitter, especially Black Twitter, take something like World War III and the potential of nuclear war and make hilarious jokes using SpongeBob memes. And so it's the range for me. It's the range.
It's the range.
The range.
So some favorite Black Twitter moments, Ariane. You mentioned December 21 as one of your favorite Twitter dates. Yeah. First of all, how'd you remember the date? But also, why was that one so special?
Well, I will never forget the date now, right? And I think that so for the people who were not on Twitter, it was supposed to be a day where Black people were supposed to get superpowers, right? And it's one of those things
I got
where,
mine. Did you get yours?
I mean, you know. And so the jokes.
I woke up more handsome.
You had yours.
Obviously.
I mean, clearly,
But
right?
handsome is my superpower, so it's all good.
Exactly. And so it's one of those things where you have a joke, and then we make jokes on top of the jokes, and then more jokes on top of those jokes. And it's really difficult to explain to people who were not there just how funny it really was, right?
This is an example of, of how Black Twitter functions, right?
Exactly. It's like, and this is free content. Like, you're getting these laughs for free.
For
like
free.
You weren't even, you didn't even have to pay for this.
This is well before the $8 blue checkmark cost. Xavier, one of yours, it's a bit more recent. Dionne Warwick, shout out to Pete Davidson. Careful, this is public broadcasting. But what can you tell us about that?
Well, you see, that's the beauty of Twitter. You'll have someone from back in the day come and become extremely relevant. Pete Davidson, him dating different really beautiful women. Dionne Warwick, and some things about Pete Davidson physically that allows him to obtain these women. Dionne Warwick wanted to have her love not this like this again, a song by getting with him, and said she would date Pete Davidson next. That was just so random, and that's so many jokes were made on top of that. So.
Yeah, Jacoby, why were you on Twitter on January 6th? Beyond the reasons a lot of us were.
I mean, while so many people, I think, was like wringing their hands and like, our country is not like this. This is not us. Who are we? I felt like I was collectively standing on my porch with a bunch of my friends, my family members, my cousins, just like pointing across the street like, oh my God, you see these people? Oh, they is nuts. They really, they gonna run up in the Capitol. They gonna let them in the Capitol. This, are y'all watching this? And we all, no matter what position you come from, whether you're a social commentator, whether you're an academic, whether you're somebody just on Twitter making jokes, we all had this shared understanding where it was like, we can't do that. And we already know our position in this society, how we're seen, how we're looked at, how we're degraded. And yet, as these, Trumpers were storming the Capitol and penetrating, were standing on the Senate floor, it was this moment where it was like, look how much time you've invested into denigrating, oppressing us, and look at this force that you've created underneath all of that. And I just felt like we had a good time laughing at that, as so many people kind of lost their minds in either one of two directions, complete ignorance or naivete.
Xavier, you're sort of a Twitter power user. Why is this the right platform for you?
Oh, well, it's a place that I've been able to say things and that go viral pretty frequently. And the articles written about things I've tweeted about. And so I turned that into Suit Up News, a video component of my tweets. And so there are A-list celebrities that retweet me, that DM me stories or story ideas. I mean, I'm wearing this Colin Kaepernick jersey that was sent to me by Colin Kaepernick because of a tweet that went viral about him. And so that's been the way that I've used this platform and be able to touch and inform and inspire and also entertain people as well, especially talking about carrot cake. It's become a thing for the last 2.5 years. I hate it. It's disgusting. It should be ejected from society. But people seem to get into it, and we keep talking about it every day.
And Thanksgiving's coming up because there's obviously like the Black Twitter discussion about pumpkin pie versus sweet potato pie. But we're not going to do that right now.
We ain't got to go there. It's sweet potato.
We don't have enough time. Obviously, thank you. Ariane, what would you say Black Twitter means to the culture?
I think that when I think back on Black Twitter, that it is also, in addition to being like a really fun place, it is kind of our archive of not just internet culture, but what has really happened, I would say, over the last decade. There are literally times where I'm working on research and I can't recall the article that I'm talking about, but I remember the Twitter discussion around it. And so I go back to Twitter and I look up, I know I can remember the keywords to find the tweet that can lead me to the article that I need for research. And that's just such a unique thing because we just have these conversations here and it's really archived. This is history. This is like a library of all this information.
As long as we can access it, and I guess we'll all find out how long that might be. Xavier, as you mentioned, you stream shows, or the show that you host streams on Twitter. Where do creators like you go if Twitter doesn't exist?
There are plenty of places for people to go. I was one of the first creators to go to Twitter to directly have the type of content like Suit Up News. I just think that the opportunities are vast. I've taken many discussions about the future of Suit Up News, whether it be streaming, whether it be an app, whether it be some sort of promoted YouTube channel. Really, it's the next step for me is taking that next path and having those real discussions about how to continue to inform, to inspire, and entertain the public that likes to hear the things that I have to say.
Jacoby, we've got about 45 seconds left. Where does the conversation go? What's our public forum if it is not Twitter?
That's a good question, and I don't have the answer to that. I think so many other social media platforms have tried to replicate the virality of Twitter, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or Snap or Reddit, but none of them quite capture this feeling like you're in the public square talking to Cicero at any moment. And without that, I'm not sure if anybody's going to be able to quite dominate this particular space in the same way. And so we'll find each other. We've always done it. Black Planet was our place, and Tagged and MySpace, and we've evolved and we figured it out. So, we're a resilient bunch of people. We're going to figure it out.
It might just be at the cookout. That's where we're going to have to leave it. Thanks, gang. Ariane Nettles, Jacoby Cochran, and Xavier Pope. Thanks to all of you for joining us.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
And we're back with more Chicago Tonight Black Voices after this. Property taxes are out and due at the end of next month. But for those delinquent on their taxes, the semi-annual Cook County tax sale is underway right now. That's where private investors swoop in and purchase tax debt, leaving homeowners with giant interest payments if they want to avoid losing their home altogether. It can be a vicious cycle, and it's prompted the Cook County Treasurer to call the system a racket. She's now proposing big changes. Paris Schutz has the story.
Henry Johnson is a retired school teacher and has lived in this bungalow on North Kedvale for 42 years. 4 years ago, his wife died. That same year, Johnson fell behind on his property tax payment.
My wife, she was sick, and she was an educator. She's able to help with everything, but after that, that made a big difference.
Per state law, Johnson was charged 1.5% interest for every month the tax bill was late, accruing to 18% over the course of a year. After that period, delinquent properties like Johnson's are eligible for the Cook County tax sale, administered by the Cook County Treasurer's Office. That's where a private investor buys the debt and can make big profits off of it.
Basically, this is very poor people paying very rich people.
Very poor people paying the wealthiest in the country, beyond the wealthiest. These are hedge funds.
The investor now charges the homeowner 12% interest every year. The homeowner has 3 years to pay this off before possibly losing their property altogether. In that time, the total interest accrues to 54%. Henry Johnson's original tax bill was less than $1,800. Subsequent bills, interest, and fees shot his total payment up to $8,173, all owed at once if he wanted to keep his home.
So what was already an insurmountable challenge becomes something that just seems impossible. And we step in to say, no, it's possible. Do you want to keep it? Let's figure out a way to do it.
Tiffany Smith is Associate Director of Neighborhood Housing Services of Chicago. She says the tax sale disproportionately hits Black and Latino homeowners, especially seniors like Johnson, who are on fixed incomes.
Thank you.
They actually have their American dream. And for it to be stolen, and in some degrees, that's what it is, right? We're taking it away from them at a percentage of the value of the home.
Pappas and Smith say their offices go door to door to reach homeowners ahead of time to check and see if they haven't claimed money the county actually owes to them.
look at what they're spending on their property taxes, if they have missing exemptions, if they have refunds that are sitting out there.
Vulnerable citizens who haven't gotten a homeowner, haven't gotten a senior, and haven't gotten a senior freeze, going back 4 years, that's $6,000.
Smith and Pappas say an ideal scenario would be to eliminate the tax sale altogether.
There's 30 states in America that have annual tax sales. So this isn't new. This has been going on for hundreds of years.
Brad Westover is president of the National Tax Lien Association, a group that represents tax buyers. He says the tax sale is necessary because without the penalty, homeowners wouldn't have incentive to pay taxes on time. Plus, the private buyer provides the missing revenue owed to government.
And sometimes they have a budget shortfall because of the non-payment of property taxes. So this process is a means by which kind of everybody pays their fair share.
But Smith says the tax sale defeats the purpose it was intended for.
There is a lot of self-eviction when those property taxes are sold, which leads to vacant properties. It becomes a blight on the communities that can ill afford it.
To make matters worse, the investor rarely keeps the property when it comes time to go to deed. In fact, they can get their initial investment back. A recent study from the Cook County Treasurer's Office found that many tax buyers used a loophole in state law to get a full refund on the property taxes that they'd paid. That's because they exploit what's called the sale and error law to get out of a contract if anything about the property doesn't match up with what was advertised.
The website of the assessor says that there's an air conditioner and there's no air conditioner. I thought there was a toilet and there's no toilet. I thought there was a basement, there is no basement. Here, take it back.
The study found that local taxing bodies paid out $280 million over the last 8 years to tax buyers as a result of the sale and error loophole.
It's a legalized racket that we need to break up, and we're going to do it.
Treasurer Pappas says she's preparing legislation in Springfield to make big changes to the tax sale that would eliminate the sale and error law, cut the first year's delinquent tax interest in half, exempt those owing $1,000 or less, and provide a payment plan to those that remain. Westover admits the sale and error loophole has been exploited and says his industry is open to all of these changes.
If they don't have the funds to redeem their tax bill in full, then collecting partial payments over time makes perfect sense.
Johnson recently paid off his debt by rearranging bills, and he got a matching grant from Neighborhood Housing Services. But he says he would have benefited from these proposed changes.
Well, there was sleepless nights and worried, but back in my mind there was going to be some way, somehow it was going to be done.
For Chicago Tonight Black Voices, this is Paris Schutz.
The current tax sale is for properties that haven't yet paid their 2020 taxes. The sale began this week and lasts until Monday. The Cook County Promise Guaranteed Income Pilot is ready to take off. At an enrollment event this week, the more than 3,000 participants who were selected by lottery became set to receive their first monthly payments of $500 on December 15th. We heard from Cook County President Tony Preckwinkle, as well as program participants and administrators, about their hopes for the program.
This is the largest guaranteed income pilot in the country, $42 million. We will have 3,250 individuals participating over a 2-year period in the pilot program, and then we've dedicated resources to continue the program after the pilot. So this will be an ongoing initiative in Cook County government. We've dedicated cannabis revenues to support the program, and we'll be looking for other revenue streams as well.
We are homeless right now, so we are in a shelter right now. We have 3 kids, so this money is a help because I really need it to save up so I can be able to get a house one day and get us out the shelter. But before I do that, my biggest concern is to have a stable job. Nowadays, most of the jobs they offer you is really not stable. Is it temp or temporary job or a seasonal job? But when you do get a job, they're not paying you enough to live in your city, to live in the city, to be able to keep the rent going. So this is why this is a big help for us and my family.
Give Directly has been administering cash programs around the world for over a decade. We've found is across the board, cash helps people meet their basic needs. It allows people to invest in their future.
I am a caregiver for my mom, and so I had to leave my job to do that. And this program takes a lot of worry, stress off of me, in that it allows me to maintain some of the things that I would have had to think about changing. You can make plans with that money, and you can allocate it to do the same thing every month or change it, whatever you want to do. The fact is that you know you've got that coming in over 2 years, it's $12,000, so it's a big help.
Positive benefits, just as we have elsewhere in the country. And I want to be part of the national narrative that this is a good idea.
The pilot will last 2 years, but as you heard Cook County President Tony Preckwinkle mention, the county's plan is to continue the program in the future using revenue from cannabis sales. Big construction projects can mean big headaches for neighbors. The Obama Presidential Center is no exception. Residents we spoke with in Woodlawn say street closures, changing lane patterns, and truck traffic are creating delays and confusion for drivers and CTA passengers.
I hope somebody can do something about that, because I barely can walk, my back hurt, my leg messed up, and I barely can walk. And I can't be out here standing like that for no hour just to wait on the CTA because they're doing construction.
It's congestion because all the traffic. They've narrowed 2 lanes down to 1. And with the 2 lanes being narrowed down to 1, and they're constantly changing the way that their cones are set up, then people don't know which way to really go.
For her part, 20th Ward Alderwoman Jeanette Taylor says better communication is key to easing constituent concerns.
The community is growing, and so there's a lot going on, but classic city of Chicago, we work in silos, so the left hand doesn't know what the right hand doing, and the constituents get left out in between. And so we got to do a better job at working with CDOT and the foundation to inform people of how to get around. People have to get to work. That's how this city runs, because people work. And so we got to figure it out.
In a statement, the Obama Foundation says, quote, "We know traffic changes are never easy, and we're working with CDOT to be sure drivers have plenty of advance notice and alternate routes for any changes." The Chicago Transit Authority says, quote, "The schedule and impact of project work is determined by the contractor. CTA will adjust its bus services accordingly. Recent nearby project work has created some instances of unsafe boarding, alighting conditions for CTA customers, resulting in unplanned temporary bus stop changes. CTA has been coordinating with the contractor to ensure ADA accessibility." And for more on Woodlawn, including concerns about housing in the area, as well as excitement from a local YMCA about future partnerships with the center, you can visit our website. That's WTTW.com/news. We're back with details about a unique collaboration. That's right after this. Musician Nico Siegel and contemporary artist Nico Washington are engaging young artists in a creative partnership with the local nonprofit Play Together. The collaboration is encouraging students to create either artwork or music based on the prompts Siegel and Washington created for the project. For Washington, that's a mural that's now up at the Merritt School of Music, and for Siegel, it's a musical composition. The artists share their creative process behind each of their pieces, as well as why they believe any upcoming artist should apply, even if they're unsure of how to pursue a path as an artist.
Added a theme to it of this duality that I felt in his piece. There's a character, and then there's almost like a shadow-like character of that character, a shadow-like version of that character. And so in my musical piece, I added a second section towards the end that feels almost like the reprise or like the shadow version of the first half of the piece. And obviously Nico and Nico, there's a lot of themes here of this duality. So I wanted to showcase that in the music.
The mural itself, I wanted to capture like a young energy of like where I was mentally as a kid. Learning new stuff and learning new techniques for painting, or music notes, or learning how to play the drums, or all that nature. And I wanted to show that energy in the form of like interpolating music as paint strokes. You learn more from losing than you do from winning. So I always think you should try, and if you fail, use that as a lesson. So I was not good at anything when I first started, especially oil painting. I was so bad that it made me want to be better at it. So maybe like want to learn how to do things and like get better at it. So I think not knowing what you want to do is actually a really good thing in the art world because it makes you open to a lot more possibilities for exploration and experimentation of just you and finding your voice through this.
Selected winners will receive a $500 scholarship and be featured in a piece of digital art known as an NFT alongside the work of Washington and Siegel. Applications are being accepted on a rolling basis. And that's our show for this weekend. Be sure to check out our website, WTTW.com/news, for the very latest from WTTW News. On a programming note, we will be off next weekend for the Thanksgiving holiday, but you can join me and Paris Schutz Monday at 7 on Chicago Tonight. Now, for all of us here at Chicago Tonight Black Voices, I'm Brandis Friedman. Thanks for sharing part of your weekend with us. Stay healthy and safe, and have a good night.
Closed captioning is made possible by Robert A. Clifford and Clifford Law Offices, a Chicago personal injury and wrongful death firm that supports free educational initiatives in the legal profession.